name's Curtis Howden. I'm the fitness manager at Edgemont World Health. Today we're actually going to start talking a little bit about sitting in the office and what that does to your body, and also a couple of different options that we have available for us. First of all, one of the things to understand is exactly what sitting all day does to you. In our society, lots of the stuff that we're doing is sitting in a computer, sitting in the car, all sorts of things like this. One thing that we need to understand is this is all deviating anteriorly. So driving, computer, whatever it is, we're always in this position. There's a few things that are happening here. First of all, we need to know that our hamstrings are getting tight. Okay, this is part of what we consider our posterior chain, the back of our body. Getting tight hamstrings is something that's really normal for people that sit a lot. Okay, this is a common area that we need to work on as trainers. Another thing that sitting is doing to us is it's loosening your lower back. So all day we're sitting like this. Okay, along with that, it's tightening up what's called our hip flexors. Okay, comes across the junction here. Now what we're looking at in this situation is it's like holding a weight in your hand all day long. So your bicep would be working and your tricep would be elongating. Okay, this is the front of your body, this is the back of your body. As this gets tighter and tighter, you're obviously going to experience a little bit of pain there, but lots of what you're going to have happen is loosening here, and that's where you'll notice big changes. Okay, similar with your back. As soon as we start getting a loose lower back, we can't control it anymore. We actually don't even know how to get into extension for a lot of people. What we need to figure out is how we can counterbalance this when we're sitting for, say, 6 to 8 hours a day, but we're actually only doing exercise with our trainer or even on our own for maybe an hour a day. Okay? And most people are only doing that maybe 4 to 5 times a week. Okay? So with all this going on, what we need to understand is that we do have a few options as far as sitting. Okay? What we're going to discuss first is a few different options and exactly what they can do for your body and how that's going to help. And then after that, we'll discuss a few things that we can do in the gym that are going to help us counterbalance the effects of sitting all day and the current lifestyle that we live. So the first type of chair that we're going to discuss is probably the most common chair that you'll see in the office setting. This chair is designed for comfort. Okay, this is not designed to functionally help your body. So what we're going to talk about here is exactly what people actually use this chair for, which is getting comfortable. You're sitting at a computer. How often do you walk by and see someone sitting upright away from the back of their chair? This is facilitating us to sit back like this, and you'll notice the forward head lean right away. Okay. Some interesting thing that happens with your back is when our lower back isn't extended, our upper back isn't extended either. So we need to notice that when we sit in this chair, the support that we are getting only happens when we come way back, and then you're going to tip forward to see your computer screen and reach for your mouse. Okay. Again, this is going to deviate us anterior, and we don't have anything that's actually giving us the ability to use our sits bones, which are on the bottom of your pelvis, to actually sit up straight and get into extension in your spine. So this is going to be a chair that is going to help with hamstring tightness. You're going to get a lot of that hamstring tightness still. You're going to get even more hip flexor tightness because we have to get way back here to use the back of the chair. And also that forward tip, that's going to affect muscles of your neck, upper back, and it's also going to tighten your abs. And that's something that most people exacerbate by going to the gym at the end of the day and doing sit-ups and helping them deviate more and more anterior. Okay? So this is the first type of chair. This is probably worst case scenario as far as chairs. Okay? What we need is something that can allow us to use our core, to actually activate some muscles and sit in a proper position that can kind of fight against some of this stuff that's going to be going on. One thing that we can do with this traditional chair is we can make it a little bit more active, something we call active sitting, which is going to allow the muscles of our core to work. We can just set this on our chair here, typically closer to the front. What we want to do is stay away from the back of our chair a little bit more. So when we sit on this, it's actually quite uncomfortable to try to sit back because it will enhance that kind of forward pelvic lean. So when we do sit up straight on this, you'll find that you can actually just sit into your pelvis and it'll hold the weight for you. What that's doing is engaging the muscles of your core. It's allowing your back to work. It's allowing a lot of stuff to happen. This isn't necessarily going to help with that tightness in the hip flexors because it is a prolonged period of a similar kind of sitting pattern. But what it is going to help us do is actually get our core involved so that we're not going to have the postural problems of sitting forward like this. Whereas we can more sit into our computer and actually be an extension in our spine, which is going to be very helpful for us. So a really cheap and effective tool of making our chair a little bit more active. Another option that we have when we start talking about sitting for prolonged periods of time is a ball. You've seen this a lot more probably in the office. It's a little bit cheaper as far as chairs go. But the big problem that we run into with the ball is height. To get the proper height for our body, we should have around a 90-degree angle at the knee. So you'll notice a lot of people are sitting on a ball that's a little bit too high for them. They can't actually plant their feet. They can't sit properly on it. But if we do get a ball that's close to the right height, again, it's going to be like our disc on our chair. It allows us to sit forward and get that extension in our spine. Again, we're still going to have some tightness in our hip flexors, probably hamstrings, because we are in this position for a long period of time, but a cheap and effective way of making it so that we can be in a good position. The other advantage to doing this is that we can actually move a little bit on the ball. So when we get uncomfortable, it's not just sitting in one place, allowing everything to glue up. We can actually move and let our spine decompress a little bit, move around to get those joints actually experiencing something that would be considered movement, rather than just sitting in one position all day, getting into some sort of functional state of rigor mortis at the office. So this is a chair that's a little bit more high-tech. We call this the Swopper. This is going to be probably best case scenario. It's a little bit more expensive than an exercise ball, but it does allow us to adjust height. It allows us to change how much the chair will actually tip back and forth, and it'll make sure that we can get some sort of active sitting in that's going to be positive for our body. Okay? You'll notice right away one of the things here is that we're unlimited with where our feet can go. Whereas with the ball, your feet have to go way out front. With this, if our hip flexors are getting tight throughout the day, we can actually just step our feet back and open that up a little bit. Again, it allows us for that movement for when our back starts getting a little bit tight, when we've been in the same position for a long period of time. But you'll notice when we're sitting at our computer, again, we can get into a good extended position at our spine, activate the muscles of our core, and it does give us that freedom to move. Okay? This is what we would consider probably best case scenario, but it is going to be something that you'll notice, especially over a long period of time. If you're doing the right type of activity and you're actually getting off of your chair and going for a walk in your breaks. As far as exercises, when we start talking about strengthening the posterior chain, that's something that you can look up on a lot of different websites. Posterior chain, when we're talking about that, it's hamstrings, glutes or butt, and your lower back. Those are the three muscles that are really supporting this extension that we start talking about. That's what allows us to stand up. Okay? Now what we're looking at as far as exercise, we can do anything that we want as far as extension, but something that's a really good place to start is a basic deadlift. Now we don't have to do a full range of motion right away. All we need to do is learn how to control our hips. Now there's two different types of control that you need with your hips, okay? There's anterior tilt and posterior tilt. Now anterior tilt would be when we actually tip the back of your hips up, okay? So this is extension at the spine. The other thing would be posterior tilt, where we're pulling the hips forward. Now you notice that doesn't involve moving the hips at all, it's just tipping, okay? That sort of control to pull forward, this is transverse abdominis, which is under your rectus abdominis, your six-pack, okay? And this is glutes, okay? When we start getting into an extension position, which is lifting into that anterior tilt position, what we need there is we're going to be using a lot of lower back, okay? So if we can get into this deadlift, it helps satisfy both different movements, okay? So we can start out, even if we're not using weight, we can start out with our hands on our hips, extend your hips back, and arch your back. You can see this big sway in my back here. This is going to be good for extension. All we have to do is come down to the knees here. You feel a little tension in the hamstring and in the glute. That's good. It's an active stretch. And when we come back up, we're just going to use that posterior tilt. Squeeze those hips and squeeze your glutes together. Okay? This is going to be a really good starting point. There's a whole lot of back extension type activities that you can do, but this is one of the most functional things that we can do, because if we know how to bend right, we can protect our spine, even if we are experiencing a little bit of tightness from our daily life. So if you have any questions on anything that we went over today, you can feel free to go to any World Health location. I would prefer you to come to the Edgemont location, but anyone will do. For all this equipment, we have fitter first to thanks. This is the disc, the ball, and the Swopper. You can check those out online. All three of these things can make your office life a little bit better and definitely help with little amounts of back pain and that sort of thing that you're dealing with.